Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. It is with a heavy heart that I rise today to speak in opposition of SB 4. 6 years ago, this body considered similar legislation that, although handedly passed this chamber, ultimately failed to become law. And here we are again. A majority of you were not members of this body when we last discussed this issue, and perhaps are unaware of the diversity of our body. The issue of immigration is often brought up during debate, mostly in an antagonistic manner. It is an important issue for me, and a very personal one, because as those illegals are quite often at the center of our debate, I too was once an undocumented immigrant. A former undocumented immigrant, an illegal alien, is your colleague standing before you today. I was born in Mexico and brought to the United States when I was an infant child, like so many young adults in the gallery today and throughout our country. Also, like many families, my parents came to the U.S. with the hope and dream of a better life and opportunities for their daughters. My family and I entered the country and overstayed our visas. We lived in undocumented status for 8 years until the Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986. We became legal permanent residents, and at age 18, I became a naturalized citizen. I still remember my interview with the immigration officer. I was 18 years old, had attended Texas public schools from kindergarten through high school, graduating when I was 16 years old, and was a sophomore in college, yet I was very nervous over the questions that would be asked during the citizenship examination. I was so nervous that when asked to name the capital of the United States, I responded, Austin, Texas. The officer re-asked his question, name the capital of the United States, and then I quickly responded, Washington, D.C. The discussion regarding laws affecting undocumented immigrants, such as this one, SB 4, is not hypothetical for me. It is something that my family and I have lived. During the time we lived in undocumented status, and although I was just a little girl, I remember the constant fear my family lived with each day. The fear my parents experienced each day as their 2 little girls went to school, not knowing if there would be an immigration raid that day, and they wouldn't be able to pick up their daughters from school, and not knowing who would take care of them if they would be deported. My parents worked hard to provide a better life for my sister and I. My mother worked the day shift, and my father worked at night shift, to make sure that one of them would always be there for us. The daily task of going to the grocery store to buy food for your family may seem like a simple task, but for my family, it meant risking the chance of encountering an immigration raid at the grocery store and having our families separated. I vividly remember being in elementary school and would shy away from when my other classmates would discuss where they were born. I knew I wasn't a U.S. citizen and feared the reactions from my classmates if they knew I wasn't a citizen. I see myself in many of the students now that share the same fear of being deported or having their parents deported, wondering what's going to happen to them if their parents are deported. Who is going to pick them up from school? Where will they go? Where will they live? And as a mother of a 5-year-old boy, I empathize with these families. Some say that immigrant children are a drain on our public schools, on institutions of higher education. But I don't consider myself a drain. I graduated at age 16 with honors, earned my bachelor's in law degree, and was elected to the Texas House of Representatives at age 27. I know there are many other immigrants out there like me, waiting to be given the opportunity that I was given. I know firsthand the impact that SB 4 will have on many families that are currently in the same legal status in which my family once was. Mothers that will be afraid to even go to the grocery store to buy groceries for the family, as my mother was once afraid. I know how this bill will punish immigrants and push them into the shadows, making our communities less safe, as immigrants will be reluctant to report crime or provide evidence and testimony in the prosecution of criminal offenses. As a mother now, I have a better appreciation for the sacrifices my parents made for me. To leave a country they called home, come to a country where they didn't know the language, carrying with them nothing more than a suitcase containing their entire family's belongings and a heart full of dreams for a better life for their family. And I'll close with this. What will be your legacy? Are we showing God's love through our words and actions? Or are we demonizing a vulnerable community for political gain? I recognize that it's not by coincidence that I have the privilege of serving in the legislature. As an undocumented immigrant child, the odds were against me, but God was on my side. I believe He has a plan and purpose for my life. I plan to use the gifts that He has given me to continue serving others, standing up for what is just, and being that voice for those who can't speak for themselves. So I urge you to vote against SB 4.
Chair recognizes Representative Niabe.